So as some of you may know, my brother and I have recently completed the 4x4x48 challenge. And if you didn't know this, you probably don't follow us on social media, so go follow us. So we both had fairly different views on the whole challenge and kind of training and leading up to it. So he's going to do a video showing all his stuff. I'm going to do a video showing all my stuff. So in this video, I'm going to give you a breakdown of the challenge, tell you how I was feeling throughout the challenge, and tell you a few tips and tricks I learned along the way. Then at the end, I'm going to go through the training that I did, and then the training that I think you should do if you want to attempt this challenge. So the 4x4x48 challenge is running 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours. Now we wanted to do it for a charity that's local to us called Surfers Against Sewage. So to make it a bit more custom to that charity, we decided to run in wetsuits and pick up rubbish along the way. I can tell you now for free, wetsuits was a bad idea, but it was all worth it. We managed to pick up 550 pieces of rubbish and raise over £800 for Surfers Against Sewage. So overall, it's been an amazing event. If you're interested in donating for Surfers Against Sewage, I'll put a link down in the description below. Our Just Giving page might still be up, but if not, I'll put a link to the Surfers Against Sewage website where you can make a donation there. Now on to the challenge. So the first run, easy 4 mile run, no problems there. Then by run 2, we learned 2 things. First thing we learned was the amount of time in between runs was a lot shorter than we thought. When we first looked at the run, we figured 4 miles takes about an hour. Then you have 3 hours until the next run, so it's 3 hours of rest. But in reality, you forgot about the prep time, getting ready for your next run, which normally takes about half an hour to 40 minutes because we had to put wetsuits on. Then by the time you've eaten and stretched, if you haven't prepared the food, you've got to prepare the food. Before you know it, you've only got an hour to rest. So we figured out pretty quickly that best case scenario, we could get 6 hours sleep per day. And that's if you can fall asleep like straight away. In reality, you can't. You've just been for a run, so you're pretty fired up. So then you got to switch off, wind all the way down again and switch off. Then what's difficult about this is by the time you switch off and you're finally asleep, ring, 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 alarm goes off and get up for the next run. And waking up is hard. So moving on to runs 3 to 5. At this point, physically, legs are still okay. They're starting to become a little tender, but for the most part, they're alright. And what we found at this point was that our wetsuits weren't drying properly. We had sweat in the wetsuits, and then the 3 hours we had in between wasn't enough time to dry out the wetsuits. So our wetsuits were constantly wet from that point forward. Now, as you can imagine, that led to a lot of chafing in the downstairs region. So that wasn't fun, but apart from that, it was all fairly easy. I found switching off quite hard, but switching back on was fairly easy. Like normally, as soon as the alarm went off, I struggled a little bit. By the time I got up, I was ready to go. I was like, yeah, okay, I know what I'm doing. I know what I gotta get done. That's runs 3, 4, and 5 done. Now moving on to runs 6s and 7. Now these 2 runs was at midnight and then 4 AM. And these were by far the most difficult runs to get up and do. At this point, our legs are starting to hurt. They're not too bad after you start running. They kind of get warmed up. You warm it up. After the first 2 miles, the pain goes away. But initially standing up when you first get out of bed, really painful. During the night runs, I find it's most important to be as organized as possible. I kind of guessed this might be the case, so I prepared my food in the previous run. So I didn't actually sleep. I was preparing food ready for 6 and 7 because I knew I was going to be just tired. Because I was able to do that, I was able to eat and stretch all at the same time. I was able to get at least an hour and a half nap, which really not enough. Then it was around these runs where I was starting to get really mentally tired, and then turning back on after waking up was really starting to struggle. I ended up just sticking a pair of headphones on and just cranking music as loud as possible just to wake me up more than anything. That didn't really help. But we got through it, we got it done, and that was runs 6 and 7. Now runs 8 and 9. On these runs, the pain had well and truly set in by this point. Starting to walk downstairs funny, that sort of pain. And it was getting to the point where you get to the end of the run and the pain was still sort of there. At this point, the pain is there to stay, and it's just progressively getting worse. And the way the pain kind of comes in, it kind of just creeps in just everywhere. If you're running a marathon, you kind of tend to get like a weird knee, and then you kind of run for a bit, then that goes away, and you get another weird hip, and that goes away, and then it gets to the point where just everything hurts. Where this just kind of just slowly creeped in on everything. And of course, on top of that, we had the chafing from the wetsuits and all that sort of problems to go along with it, which again just wasn't fun. I don't recommend wearing wetsuits. It's a stupid idea. I had to consume a stupid amount of water because the amount of sweat we're producing. Don't wear wetsuits. It's really not fun. Don't do it. It's generally not safe. It's dangerous, and I don't recommend doing it. So this is a precaution. Don't try this at home. We're trained professional idiots. I've been stupid my whole life, so I'm used to it. But still, we got it done. That's runs 8 and 9. Now on to run 10. Now at this point, sleep deprivation was definitely becoming a thing. I'm a weird person, but I get more weird when I'm tired. You can kind of see that in our video we posted on Instagram.
You're gonna die!
But on top of that, I was kind of being really forgetful, not really knowing where the run was going to go, just doing basic maths, like adding how much rubbish we picked up. That was starting to become a struggle. And I think it was at this point when the alarm went off to go for a run, I woke up just not having a clue what was going on. I was like, what are we doing? Just really confused, just completely dazed, didn't have a clue what was going on. It was a little bit scary, but it was, yeah, it was weird. But anyway, nonetheless, we got it done. Run number 10. Boom. Now run 11. Now run 11, I would probably say the pain had kind of peaked at this point. It stopped going away completely. You were running 4 miles just in pain, period. It hurt. It hurt to run. Suck it up. At this point, what was comforting to know was that I had run further in training on worse legs, so I knew that I could get through this point, and that was really comfortable to know. It still sucked. It just wasn't pleasant. It just really wasn't fun. And also around this stage, I kind of stopped eating as much, so I was kind of getting a little bit more fatigued mentally. And then also by this point, I'd stopped stretching. It was painful to stretch, so stretching didn't happen. But yeah, got it through. Run number 11 done. Last but not least, run number 12. Now, this one was a weird one because the 4 hours before the run went the slowest they did throughout the whole event. Because after run 11, I just wanted to get to run 12, get it done, then I could just sleep for this foreseeable future. And for that reason, run number 12 was probably one of the easier runs. It was in a lot of pain, but the pain didn't really matter because I knew it wasn't going to get any worse because after that it was done. So yeah, run 12, fairly easy. And that is it. The 4x4x48 challenge completed. So now moving on to some training. So I touched on a few of the tips just explaining the challenge, but I'm going to delve in a little bit deeper to some of the other tips, some of the things I did to train, and some of the things I'd recommend you doing if you're looking to do the challenge. The thing about the challenge is it's a challenge. There's nothing you can do to prepare yourself for the sleep deprivation and sleeping and waking up again. It just sucks. You can't train it. You just have to just suck it up when it happens. So all you can do is train for the running, get the running down, and then just be as organized as possible to maximize your sleep time. You want to make sure you know exactly where everything is. Get everything ready for the next run after your first run. Before the challenge even starts, prepare some meals and then plan a route as well. We had a route all planned out. Switch up your route. Don't run the same route every time. That would be soul destroying. If someone does that, fair play. But I'd really probably struggle with that. So the next really important thing is going to be your mindset. Right from day one, I had the mindset that I was doing this run no matter what. No matter what anyone said, no matter if I broke my leg, I was getting through it. And I honestly think having this mindset made the whole run a lot easier. If at any point, even in training, that I had the thought that walking was okay, come run 10, 11, 12, that thought would have grown and just become a lot more tempting. And I would have to fight that thought the whole way through. But because I never planted that seed, it was never an option. I didn't have to fight anything. It was getting done. Unpopular opinion, if you walk a leg, you quit. You didn't finish. I'm sorry if I hurt some people's feelings. People on YouTube posted videos about it. They walked a bit. You didn't finish. This doesn't necessarily apply to the people that do the other activities, but if you set out to run it, run it. Get it done properly. Don't walk, get it done. Anyway, moving on. The other thing I found really helpful was having my brother next to me the whole time. Now, it was really important that he had the same sort of mindset as well. If he had a bad mindset, that could have thrown me off and we could have both just failed. But luckily enough, he had the same sort of mindset as me. I remember early on in training, before I knew Luke's mindset, he came up to me and he said, whatever you do, don't break your leg in run 3. Because that means I got to carry your ass through the next 9 runs. He had the exact same mindset. It was happening. We were going to get it done. If we both broke our legs, we were dragging our ass through it. We were getting it done. So now you know you're getting it done, you should probably back that up with some running. So with a little over a month to train, I wanted to make sure I got the running down as best as I could. I didn't know what other problems I was going to face in the challenge. I didn't know how much wetsuits were going to suck. I sucked a lot. I knew sleep deprivation was going to be a thing, but I didn't know how much. So I wanted to be comfortable with my running, knowing that I could go to this. I wouldn't necessarily call myself a runner. I'd run every day, but tops 4.5 miles and that was it. So I ended up doing a whole load of crazy running. You can see the full details on Instagram. Over the course of the month, I ended up running 3 marathons. A little flex, but my first ever marathon, I did 4 days into training. I did a 100-mile week. Then one of the marathons included a mile in sand dunes. But yeah, all sorts of crazy stuff. So go check that out on social media. Now the training that I found helped the most out of all of this, and what I would recommend you doing, was run around 100 miles in a week. Now you don't need to necessarily run 100 miles in a week, but I would suggest just running a marathon just to make sure your legs are hurting. Then the next day run 8 to 10 miles, then the day after that run another 8 to 10 miles. Now, how does this help, you may ask? So the next few days after the marathon, your legs are in the same sort of pain levels as they will be on the later runs. So if you can run 8 miles on those hurt legs, running 4 miles on those legs is easy. Well, it still sucks, but you know you can go further, and that's really comfortable to know. Another thing that I found helped in training was running every day. It sounds stupid, and probably is, but I found it really helpful for any little injuries. I can confirm that is stupid. So my backcrap crazy logic, if I run with a sore knee, if it heals whilst I'm still running on it, it's going to heal stronger. I'm not a doctor, I probably don't recommend doing it, but it worked for me. So do it. Another really important thing with the challenge and with training is nutrition. So whilst you're training, experiment with nutrition, find out what works best for you. Get to know your body, find out how quickly it digests food, and find out what food helps you recover the quickest. Now Luke did not do this. So on one of the runs he ended up eating way too much food beforehand and then drinking a load of water just before the run, and he was jacked. I think it was the midnight run as well. But look at our times on the midnight run. I think we did like 11:30 average pace, and he was just done. He was like, don't talk to me, I'm about to throw up. It was hilarious. But if he just trained a bit more and kind of got to know himself and how his body works, then he would have been able to kind of overcome that and he wouldn't have had that problem. Then the last thing that I've not heard anyone talk about, the next few days after the challenge, you are done. Done! Your body is so confused, it's like the sleep pattern's gone out the window, you're jet lagged, you're queasy, you got a headache, you feel great at one point, and then the next point you are on your ass. It's terrible! No one mentions it. Book it off work. I'll say it now. The next few days after the challenge was harder than the actual challenge. It sucks, it's just, you're just done. It's really not fun. But yeah! I think that is everything. I highly recommend doing this challenge. Give it a go. Find out what you're made of. The beauty about this challenge, you don't necessarily have to run. Just do something that sucks for like 40 minutes to an hour. The hardest part about this challenge is the sleeping and waking up. So as long as you're doing something difficult, you'll find this a challenge. Period. If you do give it a go and you found this video helped, let me know down in the comments. And hopefully this helps. If you have any more questions, send us a message on Instagram. It's probably the best bet. And yeah, go out and try one of these things. Whoop. Oh yeah, go check out Luke's video as well. It'll be in the description.